Hi, this is Cam Smith, and this is the podcast of Triple R's Eat It, a weekly radio show about food and drink broadcast live on Triple R from Melbourne, Australia every Sunday. Hope you enjoy the podcast and feel free to get in touch with us via the Triple R website.
Hey, guys, why don't we eat?
Dear, don't cause a fuss. I'll have your spam. I love it. I'm having spam.
Cornflakes.
Anyone fancy a pint?
Suit you, sir.
Spam. Baked beans, spam, and spam.
I said I don't want any damn vegetables.
Lentils are really good, you know?
Forbidden donut.
Yeah. Eat it. Now with finger snaps. That one wasn't quite on. I'm fired. 12:02 here on 3RRR FM. You're listening to the afternoon as we slide off into a glorious long weekend. The weather's good. We're feeling nice. We've been out for dinner. I'm here with Matt. The scientists were great. All is at peace with the world.
It really
somewhat.
is. I had hello Cameron Smith. Hello, dear listener. You're listening
Hello,
to Triple R. It's just gone midday. I was we're in the city yesterday, and it feels slightly odd walking around with no mask. I mean, it's great, of course. It's good.
Yes.
But it just feels it's. We were just saying before the show to panel Peter Kent how conditioned you become over 10 weeks to certain rules and things, and to now not have to abide by them.
And procedures.
Yes. But it's good. Oh, you're putting your little thing on your mic. There we go.
There we go. Just being safe in the studio because things have gotten better in the restaurant situation.
They sure have.
We remain safe here in beautiful downtown East Brunswick. And,
Yes.
yeah, well, that's what we're doing. One of the protocols is we put little covers over the microphones. But, yes, being in town, I went in on Thursday.
Yep.
I think it was a little bit quieter than what you experienced.
I think it would have been, yes.
It was also we had those bands of rain that came through.
Yes, it's Mother Nature welcoming the easing of restrictions with cyclonic winds.
Yeah, it was like, if you've got asthma, hide in the house was sort of the advice, wasn't it?
And quite a lot of, damage down on the coast. So, not a necessarily pleasant way to start your long weekend. So hopefully everyone's safe.
Indeed, and that'll be a theme in the show today. We talked to John about terrible damage being done to the tomato crops and glass houses in South Australia.
Yes.
We're joined by Duncan Buchanan, who we have a beautiful theme for, and he'll be talking again about hail damage that's happened in South Australia.
Yeah.
Amongst other things that are happening within his world of wine. And I'm kind of excited. Actually, I'm very excited to. We're going to be talking with. There are a few people in this world that are defined by just one name.
Yes.
Ronaldo.
Madonna. Sure.
Stephanie. Yes, so we're going to be talking to the Stephanie. Her of the Order of Australia, her of immense experience in fine dining in this town.
Yes.
The Kitchen Garden Foundation specifically.
Yes.
20 years. 20
years.
of,
I remember
of teaching little tackers.
I remember we had Stephanie Alexander on the show when that program launched, and we were talking to her about, is it really, okay to give kids knives and things? But that's right, she was all over it. She was cool.
Yes,
and 20 years
I
on.
give the kids knives.
Yes.
It's like telling
And
them,
that was the
of
tone
course
of
I
voice.
let them drink gin. A little bit of tonic.
But 20 years of doing transformative things in schools and now other areas, teaching people. Is it a lost art? Am I gilding the lily a little bit by saying the lost art of growing and your own food? But anyway,
If there's anyone who is keeping that alive and promoting an alternative to the marketing nightmares that we have on our TVs
Yes.
of there's no way you could cut a pumpkin, open this tin, because let's face it, folks, the whole idea of marketers is to de-skill the population.
Ooh, controversial.
Oh, I've said this for years. I mean, and it wasn't me that said this first. It was Cherry Ripe, who was a very well-known writer, still around and writing. And I remember there was something that leapt off the page to me where she said, and I've said it to you, cooking is a political act.
Yes.
Yeah. And one of the great things that Stephanie does is she gives us and encourages children to understand the growing process, the cooking process, conviviality of the table.
Yes.
Which is very, very important. And it's 20 years of that, and also 20 years of Eagle Claw. Oh, that's great. Unfortunately, this is not a visual medium, but I just had
gave you the blankest look.
No, you didn't. You did eyebrows. You gave me eyebrows. You went, what? Yeah, Eagle Claw. So if you got a pen, hold your pen,
Holding
like that.
Yeah.
No, like that. No, pointing down.
Yeah.
So holding the pen like that. That is the way that you carry your knife in the kitchen. So you can't stab anyone. So can you describe what
I was about to say, how
it?
informative for everyone who can see us right now. So,
Take it, man.
It's basically pointing to the ground vertically.
Yep.
And you hang on to it at the top.
Yep.
With your hand not wrapped around it.
No.
Just
Not like you're going to stab.
No, don't stab.
No, but that way, if you drop the knife, you can just let it fall. But that's a safe way to carry knives. And this is the great thing, that there is this trust in the kids to do that. And also these things will carry through with you for many years. And by having Stephanie for doing this for so long, there's generations who have been now empowered to do that, and we'll talk to her about that legacy, but we'll be doing that very, very soon. We do the 1, 2, 3. What's that in your mouth? Ladies and gentlemen. Well, you got to go out. Any highlights?
Oh, so we, as I say, we jumped on the tram yesterday, which was in itself an experience that we haven't done for 10 weeks. But no, we went. And one of our absolute post-lockdown faves is one of the nicest places to sit and eat in Melbourne.
The second best sushi in Melbourne.
Yes, okay.
No, really?
No, I know it is, but
It's pretty close.
Probably not the way you want to market it. But we're talking, of course, of Kisame in the city on Flinders Lane. I think I'm pronouncing that right. Kisame?
Sure. Maybe Kisame.
Japanese.
Kisame.
And, just one of the nicest things in Melbourne, to sit there at the sushi counter and watch the chefs do their work. And it's something that, we've really missed in lockdown, because you can get takeaway sushi, but it's just not the same when you're at a really premium place to have someone actually cut the fish in front of you and then assemble it into the little nigiri and give it to you. Yeah. And then you just take it all in one bite. It's just extraordinary, exquisite food.
There's people on your right hand side going, more sake?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, more sake.
So, all was well with the world with us yesterday, just sitting at that sushi counter. You've been sitting at a counter too, Cam.
I did. I had the same sort of experience, different area of the world that is being concentrated on. I was lucky enough to be at my favourite table, which is right at the end of the bar at Bar Larinya in Little Collins Street.
Yep.
Matt and Joe, who are the patrons of that place, have it's been around for about 15 years now, I think.
Yeah, I think it has.
And it was just wonderful. And I had my first Negroni made by someone else.
Well done.
Which was just divine. And just this procession of just... Matt's got the gift in the fact that, you know, when simple food but subtle and thoughtful. And anyway, it was just divine.
And it's really just good to see, you know, all of your favourite places, cafes or restaurants or bars, and they're just sort of rubbing their eyes and waking up again. Now, it's the start of a very difficult period for them all. You know, we were talking before the show about staffing challenges, and obviously, you know, you've had 6 months of no trade again and you've still got rent, but it's still a good feeling in the city, isn't it? It's the things are happening again. It's good.
Sure is. And one of the things I might just quickly mention before we get on to Stephanie Alexander, first of all, I heard it on the grapevine that guest of the show, friend of the show, Victor Leong of Lee Ho Fook, down there in Duckboard Place, the little laneway up in Flinders Lane, he's doing yum chars on the weekend. And I would suggest to you that if you want a yum char fix with some extraordinary stuff.
Another thing that you haven't been able to do during lockdown, very hard to replicate yum char at home unless you're very committed.
And we should also acknowledge the fact, and a big round of applause, that it's World Vegan Day tomorrow.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Give your vegans a hug and may their numbers increase. Go on, give me
Hug a Vegan Day.
Hug a Vegan Day.
And, and share some food.
You know, seek consent. But then give them a hug.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds good. You are listening to 3RRR FM. We're going to be back with Stephanie Alexander, but before we do, sponsorship announcements go something like this.
Triple R on FM, digital, online and via the app.
Thanks so much for being here. It means a lot.
It is 12:14 here on The Trip, and we are delighted to be able to chat with Stephanie Alexander. A very good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon.
Stephanie, how you been? It's been a while since I've seen you.
I'm always busy.
Oh, we know that. I think we can take that one for granted.
Always got plenty on the go.
Yes. And you will never die wondering.
No.
No, that's right. Stephanie, I wanted really, one of the main things I reached out for you to do was really just what I did when I texted you the other day, just to offer my very, very sincere and hearty congratulations on the Kitchen Garden Foundation. 20 years.
It seems to, it's quite extraordinary, really, but it's gone in a flash, you might say.
It has, because in a bit of I sort of describe it as a bit of a Forrest Gump move in myself. I was there at that first turning of the soil down there at Hoddle Street. You
were indeed, and I remember it well, Cam. I'm sure I had a shovel in one hand.
Yes.
It was very, very hands-on. Not so hands-on these days. Well, quite apart from COVID having changed the nature of
everything.
Of everything.
Yeah.
But really, it's been very intense 20 years, and I would have to say something different happens every day.
Let's have just to look back at how it all came about. What were the original aims of the Kitchen Garden Foundation, and what has been achieved?
Well, I think originally it was the aims were rather woolly in the sense that I was very definitely wanting to find a way of introducing young people to really lovely food, and I wasn't quite sure how to do it, but it did seem to me that learning how to grow some stuff and then being able to be helped to deal with it, harvest it and cook it, and of course eat it
together
was probably what I was thinking of. But it certainly wasn't spelled out. I didn't spell it out on paper or even in my head. I just sort of went with the flow that I thought I had been introduced to Frances Lorino, the then principal of Collingwood College, who was quite concerned about the way many of her students were or were not eating. I then also met Basil Natoli, who was involved with Cultivating Community, and they had a brief to sort of deal with gardening in the community.
Yes.
And they were looking at it for a way to continue their work. And somehow the sort of everything aligned. And Frances said, when I said, how about we try and create a section, an edible garden in a little bit of the ground?
Yep.
Instead of her saying, what a ridiculous idea, she said, that sounds like a good idea.
That sounds like a good idea.
And so I felt I had some support, and I had a wonderful personal assistant at the time, Anna Dollard, and she was right with me, thinking how important it was. We'd also been influenced by Alice Waters from Berkeley in California, who was doing something similar, but in a single school. Well, so was I in a single school at that stage.
Yeah.
But so we just ploughed on. We just dug up a bit of garden. We found a group of teachers and parents.
Gave them a shovel?
But they were very supportive, and I think that needs to be remembered, that certainly all along it could not ever have happened without like-minded people who joined in, who saw the wisdom of what we were trying to do and got enthusiastic. And so we started and we built the first garden, and really it's gone on from there, Cam. I mean, things went wrong, always things go wrong.
Yep.
We got first that we realised after about 3 days that one of the things that you needed was money. And, that had sort of been something I hadn't really thought creatively or properly about.
Yes.
So we started our 20-year program of applying for grants.
You needed a spreadsheet jockey.
Oh, God. Well, I mean, we're still doing that.
Yes.
Almost like all not-for-profit organisations, you do depend on support from somewhere. We have been very fortunate in having a lovely mix of support from government, from philanthropists, from corporates, all and some, not necessarily always all together, but it has been a constant need to fund the program as it's grown. And, of course, it has grown dramatically from that one school to now incorporating a lot of early learning centres, some secondary schools, and I think we're probably up to about 1,500 schools or educational centres who are members of our organisation. So a long way from one school.
Yeah, and you've also broken out of the city too, because you're in the regions. I've got a good buddy of mine.
We're all over Australia.
Yes.
In tiny schools in remote communities, very big schools. We've got schools in Kununurra, and it is an amazing. Pre-COVID, when we were visiting schools,
yep.
Some of that have been the highlights of my 20 years. Have been tagging along with the support team when they went off to introduce a new school or a group of schools to how to put the program into practice, or give some training, or whatever it was. So I really got to visit a very, very wide range of schools, and it's very important, because you can sit around and read a whole lot of stuff, but until you've actually been in there, seen the kids, noticed how enthusiastic they are, and how it really is a program that brings children together and everybody can be involved, it's very, very powerful. It's very powerful to see it.
Yes.
And I can feel very proud that I founded this program and that it really now has its own life and it does not depend on me.
And yes, 100%. I agree with you. And it's also, as a motherhood statement, just to come out, one of the great things is that it is so empowering for individuals to be able to make their own nutrition decisions and to have the ability to grow their own food, cook their own food. And the other thing that you so greatly acknowledged was the fact that, yes, but also to bring people to a table so you can enjoy food rather than just sit in front of a television and eat some junk food.
Exactly. I mean, I think that probably is right at the heart of it all, is that I want to make the family table a lively and a happy place.
Yes.
And I would like to do that in a way that also encompasses fresh food and, sustainable practices of growing that food. But essentially, pleasure has to be part of it. There is nothing to be achieved. Nothing will be achieved if it's done on the basis of fear or rules. You just need to get the kids really enthusiastic about all of the activities that go on, and that they actually enjoy it, so they want to do it again.
Can I also acknowledge another thing that you always had right from the beginning was trust in the kids?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, I know.
And I don't think we've ever been let down by that. I mean, you have the odd naughty kid, but all you need to say is, well, look, you might not sit down and eat today, and wow.
Yeah.
Does that behaviour change?
Yeah, sounds like me when I was in home ec a long time ago.
It's very rare that there's anything untoward.
Yes.
And, of course, during COVID, it's been a real challenge because in many states, as we know only too well in Victoria, the schools have been closed a lot of the time. So educators have had the task of, at various levels, trying to keep gardens alive, keep resources going home for home learning. And so we're very pleased that the schools, most of the children are now back at school.
And I think we're probably going to see in the not-too-distant future, and Stephanie, maybe you can tell me if it's already happened, that there will be people, it's a generational thing now. You will have children of people that might have been at that first few kitchen foundation gardens and have learned how to cook there, and perhaps that's inspired them, and they want that for their children too. Well,
I don't think that's actually happened yet. But
it must be getting close. 20 years.
I'd like to feel it could.
Yeah, well, a couple more footy seasons maybe.
Yes,
or seasons of crops.
Certainly what we're finding, we hear a lot about, is the kids actually influencing home.
Yes.
Talking about what they've been doing and growing and tasting, and sometimes that's being cooked again with the family, or kids making suggestions when they go shopping with their mother and so on. Again, a lot of this has been in abeyance during our COVID lockdowns, but look, life is coming back, and we're hopeful that 2022 will be a very positive year.
Polka, huh? Yeah, little by little we'll go a long way with that one. Any thoughts about where you want to take the foundation into the future, or where you see the kitchen foundation is going into the future, other than just growing beautifully?
Well, it's growing beautifully. There are various irons in the fire to expand its impact into communities. None of those things are really happening as yet, but as I say, I think 2022 is going to be a big year for the foundation. I ultimately, really, I want to feel that more people enjoy a really great food life and are more aware of where their food comes from without sounding holier than thou. I just want it to be good, sound, common sense that we look after the planet, and that certainly environmental sustainability is built into the program in all the activities and the resources. Of course, my dream would be that this program is seen as part of the general curriculum for every Australian child.
Yeah.
Now we're not there yet, not by a long shot, but we do have broad awareness and recognition in government circles, and that's good. We talk to the right people, and they certainly respect what we're doing in schools.
Well, bravo to you, Stephanie, for, first of all, the inspiration to get this thing, doing the application and the enormous amount of work that you have done, as well as all the other great people that you have brought under this banner. We should acknowledge all those too, shouldn't we?
Yes, absolutely. Nothing is done alone. It's been a huge team effort from day one.
Yeah, it is. Also, if people want to get more information about this, I would recommend. Gee, the website's come a long way.
It has, and it's had a little bit of a refresh over the lockdown too.
Yes.
So it's looking very, very smart at the moment because
I agree.
it's also celebrating its 20 years.
Yes.
So kitchengardenfoundation.org.au.
Yes.
And you'll have more information than you can possibly know what to do with.
Then you can shake a bunch of radishes at. That's right.
Exactly.
Also, at some stage, we're probably going to run out of time. We should also acknowledge you have a new book out, which I'm dying to have a look at some stage. It's called Home. And just briefly, what is that one all about?
Well, it's a lovely book. I enjoyed writing it. It's got 200 recipes, but it's also got 10 very long essays that I've written about all sorts of things, like where are we going now, or how did I get here, and who are my favourite food writers. And I was encouraged by my publishers to write discursively, and I really enjoyed doing that. And I think it's been very well received so far.
Yeah, you said you didn't want to stop. I think it was a quote that I seen. Who's publishing that one?
Pan Macmillan.
Good old Pan Macmillan. All right. Well, so if you're interested in that, people, please have a look at it. Again, Stephanie, thank you for having the time with us. Congratulations again, and many, many more years of success and being such a great positive influence on this country.
Well, thank you, Cam, and thank you for your support, as you say, from day one.
Forrest Gump time. Thanks a lot, Stephanie. Have a great day.
You too.
Bye.
Bye.
This is a podcast from Triple R, an independent media organisation in Melbourne, Australia. To find out more about Triple R or to explore many more shows, podcasts, articles, videos and interviews, head to the Triple R website at rrr.org.au.
Nice day, John.
It's a beautiful day, Cam. For once, the sun's preceded you.
Yeah, it has.
And it's glorious. It's still a little bit chilly. I'm not feeling overly hot yet, but it's coming, and I'm looking forward to it because at the end of the day, we're going to clean the benches up. We're going to go home and stay there for 10 days.
Hey, so John will not be at the market next week.
That's right.
Because you're taking a bit of
break.
What are you going to do?
Well, chill out for a few days. Then, if I can get motivated, I'll clean up the garden. I've got a native garden, you could say, that looks after itself, but it's gotten a bit straggly, so we'll give it a bit of a tidy up. And we'll have...
How native? There's a lemon tree in there, right?
There's a lemon tree at the back.
Yeah. All right.
But there's some beautiful succulents and other things and other trees that don't need much water, but they do need a bit of a trim. Yeah. And then the food festival will be on. Mum's already promised me pasta fagioli, which is handmade pasta with borlotti beans.
Way!
Yes, so I'm looking forward to that. And Franco always cooks up a storm, so it'll be beautiful.
Any other things that you've requested over this time?
Well, yeah, I'll take my life into my hands again, and I'll take a cauliflower home, and I'll ask for a parboiled and battered cauliflower. Yeah.
What do you serve that with, just out of curiosity?
Oh, anything beside a steak, a bit of chicken. Yeah. Half the time I get into trouble because as soon as it's coming out of the pan, I'm standing there eating it. So both Mum and Frank can get upset and throw me out because I like it hot.
And the wooden spoon comes out.
Yeah, but also it's beautiful to eat it cold if you go on a picnic to take it with you. You know, it goes with a nice salad or a bit of barbecued meat. You know, there are no rules again.
Yeah, well, I like that. And speaking of no rules, you confided in me beforehand that you had a bit of a late night last night, which is not like you, but you said there was this unlikely duo, which I've never heard actually together, but it seems kind of good. So what did you have last night that was an indulgence?
Well, I'm a sucker for twisties, so I try not to eat them because when I do, the bigger the pack, the more I eat.
Yeah, no, I'm the same.
I had a nice whiskey on ice. I had a Canadian Club, which I hadn't had for a while, so I was sitting in my man room on my own, watching a Tarzan movie.
Twisties and a whiskey.
And twisties and a whiskey, and it was beautiful. Yeah. So nice and peaceful. I was relaxed in a good posture. Yeah. So my body was relaxing as well. And,
I like
complain.
that. Hey, listen, we've had, on to serious things. We have had a bit of a weather event that came and tore up a lot of stuff. Big winds, big hail. I'm going to be talking to Duncan Buchanan on to how that affects the wine industry, but I was just wondering, are there any ramifications that you know of with this mighty blow that we've had?
Well, if you think we got it bad, you should see what's happened in South Australia.
Yeah.
If you go on Insta and Google tomatoes, you'll see the videos come up. There are huge,
all those glass houses.
Yeah. All the panes are gone. Tomatoes ready to be picked. Some of the vines are probably 40 centimetres long. They can't pick them because they could have shards of glass in them. And it's heartbreaking when you're just ready to crop something after all that work and love and attention.
That would hurt, wouldn't it?
It does hurt, and that's why I couldn't farm. It'd break my heart. I'd be devastated first day. But these guys, they pick up their socks, they'll clean up the floor, put the roof back in, start up again, and they'll run with it. And they're used to it, so it's part of their lifestyle.
Has this sort of stuff happened much before, that we've seen this sort of devastation to greenhouses?
Not often, but, you know, as the weather cycles go, it's not unprecedented. Could happen every 10 years, every 20 years, who knows? I don't even know if these guys have insurance. In the olden days they used to, but you can imagine today how prohibitive insurance is, whether they'd really have cover or not.
Yeah.
But we pray that if they don't, that the government will give them assistance, because we need them. We need to eat. And that's a glass house. So can you imagine a poor plant out in the field, probably ripped out from the ground and a couple of kilometres down the road? Yeah. So you have to feel for the boys that are outside as well. They've got to, and also they have soil loss as well.
Yeah.
One of our long-time growers was saying down Peninsula there that they lost a lot of topsoil. They had to rebuild it. This is back 5 years ago.
Yeah.
They had to rebuild it all, re-nurture the soil, and start again.
Wow, bring it back. Well, in my own personal little observations, I had a little basil seedling that I've had growing. It's probably about 5 inches, and it was copying a bit. I had to bring it in the morning. I'm sorry, mate. Come on in. And he was sort of at this 45-degree angle for most of the day until he went, okay, I'm better now.
Yeah, it's
Thanks
funny,
for the water.
You do see the plants, some of them lay down, but they straighten up again. I think the only plant that may not is a broad bean plant.
Oh, they stay down, don't they?
So you've got to pick them up and hope that they pick up again. But pretty much a lot of the plants are resilient, even though they may seem frail. So, feel for our farmers. When you come shopping, remember that things have happened, and don't say, well, it doesn't look real good, because a fella said to me yesterday, he said, the aromas look a little bit wrinkly on his skin. I said, well, where were you when the wind was blowing? Even here we got affected. It was bad enough that we had about 5 centimetres of that woolly stuff from the plane trees rolling down every aisle and under the stalls and down our backs and everything else. So, have some empathy and think about what you're buying and the condition it's in.
We should always think about, if we can, the bigger picture.
Of course, because these things are made by nature, not by machine. So, if it looks ugly, it doesn't mean that it's not still beautiful.
Well, that could be one of the great quotes that you've come up with. These things are made by nature, not a machine.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
exactly
bloody true. I'm holding up in front of me, this would be just a big bunch of asparagus.
This is what they call a family bunch. Got about 12 asparagus in it. The size a little bit thicker than my little finger.
Yep. That's about perfect as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, 400 to 500 grams in a bunch. Yep. Very tight heads. These ones came out of Mildura. We sold out of the ones from Kuwirup. They're both beautiful. The only problem with these is they're a little bit gritty sometimes, but you can deal with that. The flavour really makes up for it. They're nice and straight. All you need to do is brush them in oil and throw them on a griddle or a barbecue or a fry pan. A couple of minutes, warm them through, and away you go.
There's a new book by Adam Liao, the MasterChef contestant. He's everywhere on TV and all that stuff. He did something interesting where he had asparagus, pancetta, just looking for a reaction. Not getting much. Okay, waiting.
I'm listening.
Yeah, okay, sorry. And scallops. So
Yes.
scallops, first of all, seared, put to the side, and then the pancetta cooked off, and then everything's sort of just all merging together.
That sounds good. It's not an overkill.
No, it's good. Three things.
Three things. It's
Yeah.
very good. And I don't think the pancetta would take over the scallops or the asparagus. If anything, it'd give it that little bit of gloss.
And salt.
Yeah. Maybe something I must try. You've inspired.
I will give you the recipe. I will. I don't know if that copyright. Anyway, I might.
I'll wing it.
You never know. A picture of the recipe might come to you.
I'm sure if he's done it on TV, it'll be on the internet. So
yeah, he does good recipes. And hopefully I might even be able to get him on the show if we can drag him away from all the productions that he is doing. I had my first Kensington Pride mango yesterday. That was bloody awesome.
Well, I'm going to make you jealous because I've got a box of overripe ones there from Robbie because Joseph's been saying, well, we've got no mangoes in the house, and he was panicking.
He's panicking. There's only an Italian can when it comes to food.
And especially loves the KP. These ones still out of Northern Territory.
Yeah.
There may be a lull for a week or two, and then the Queensland ones will fire up again, and then we'll be dripping in mangoes.
Yes.
I'll tell you a quick story. When I first started working in the office, there was a Queenslander there, and mangoes were just starting to become popular. And she said, we sit in the gutter or the bath to eat these things. And I couldn't understand it.
Yeah.
And then when there was an abundance and I ate very ripe mangoes, I understand you have to be careful. You can't wear a white shirt.
It dribbles down the side.
And the more the dribbles, the better it is.
Yeah, oh, gosh. Well, it's at the time already. Listen, I'm going to have to race off pretty soon because we've got to get Dunky on the line. Hey, let's do pick of the market.
Okay, pick of the market this week. Everyone's been buying mini Roma truss, the other cherry truss and the other heirlooms, even the Murray Bridge to have a big salad. A lot of people have been having barbecues or even going away for the weekend, and they've been taking all the beautiful tomatoes with them. So that means we've also sold a lot of cucumbers, fennel, fancy lettuces. We've had some beautiful red lettuce, butter lettuce, green oak lettuce, and everything else. You know, we've been so lucky. Everything's been beautiful still, and I'm sure that everything will recover quickly. We've been eating the bright yellow candy melon from across the road, and yesterday I took a honeydew home for something different. But all the melons have been beautiful. There's still an abundance of mangoes, citrus fruit galore. You name it, it's here. Come and have a look. Pick out what you like. Have a feast.
It's all there.
It's all there.
Have a great time off. I hope you get. I do hope you get your battered cauliflower.
I will. Don't worry.
Don't worry. There's way.
Yeah.
Dolce Vita.
There are the right things to say to get what you want.
And with that, we're going back to the studio. Thanks, John.
Thank you. Have a beautiful week.
Independent Melbourne Radio 3RRR.
So now it's time for Duncan Buchanan's Wonderful World of Wine.
Yeah. All right. You know it. Here he is.
I think we're happier listening to that music than talking to Duncan.
Yeah. Actually, maybe let's just play this. Ooh. There should be more clavinet in rock. And there should be more Riesling on vines, because that's what Duncan says.
Who the hell are you? And what have you done with my mate Cam Smith? All of a sudden you're saying that Riesling is a good thing? You've changed, man.
Yeah, I know. It's I had a haircut, and it's just changed over all the neurons in my head, and now I want to invest in a German Schloss company.
It's a good idea. No, I had a haircut too the other day. It was awesome.
Oh!
What have you done there,
What have you
Duncan?
done?
I just got it cut.
Oh, there you go. You're back again. Just say all that again, Duncan.
Yeah, repeat. You just went a bit weird on us.
I did get a haircut the other day.
Oh, I did that too.
Yeah, heaps of fun. Heaps of fun.
Have you got a head on the Instagram to show your new haircut?
No, I'm really. The one thing that this whole pandemic thing has made me realise is that a face mask is a good thing for a bloke like myself. It covers the front part of my head.
Oh, stop it! Those rugged, individualistic looks of yours.
I think they call it a lived-in face.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, that's good. Yeah.
A question without notice, we get asked, what about this the other day? Being at the Melbourne Spring Racing Carnival, I thought I'd pose a question to you guys. Have you ever eaten horse or part thereof?
No.
No.
No, the meat en chevaux. The French, of course, are very, very fond of it. And bear in mind that, don't forget, it's National Vegan Day tomorrow. Thank God we're not, actually, it's a good thing we're not talking about that tomorrow. But yeah, why do you ask, Duncan Buchanan?
I'm just curious, because I never have. I was musing about some lovely steak tartare that I'd had with Lucy the other day, and I thought, didn't they used to make steak tartare out of horse? And I thought, I wonder if Cam, being owned at the Spring Racing Carnival, whether you guys had eaten any of it.
No,
anyway,
and I can say that, of course, tartare, of course, comes from Genghis and his wily band of rapers and pillagers. And
wily band.
Hey, it's what we do. Hey, it's my business card. But moving along, we had a bit of a wild weather event that I was talking to with John. Don't know if you heard. He said that he was talking about how there was great damage to a lot of the glass houses and tomato growers around there. But the vines have copped a bit of a hiding too, haven't they?
Yeah, they have. It's been, look, I had a good ring around. It seems to be a very localised thing again. Like that weather went everywhere. And we wore, as you know, I'm on the Mornington Peninsula, we wore a huge amount of it. It was like a war zone here. It was genuinely, kind of scary. There's a lot of trees around me, and just how high those winds were. And it seems there's a lot of shoot damage because the shoots are fairly tender and not all that tough at the moment, so they can get knocked about, especially if there's some trellising, so they can snap when they've been hit up against that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's but I had a bit of a ring around just to see how it was going, and the damage wasn't as widespread as I thought, guys. It was like Great Western. I spoke with the guys from Best out there. Is there any damage? No. I thought it must have, gained a bit of intensity on the way down here. Geelong didn't seem to suffer too badly, and I'm doing this in the vineyards around Melbourne because that's where the brunt of the storm was. I know King Gully was relatively untouched as well, but I thought there'd be a lot more damage to vines.
And Werribee, like Shadowfax and all that sort of stuff.
Too bad. They would have copped some wind, but there wasn't the damage that we thought. The main bits of damage. I was having a chat with Barney Flanders this morning.
Barney Flanders,
Mr.
Garagista. God, I haven't seen him in a bloody 10 years. I reckon. How is he? Has he finally worked out how to do a decent Pinot?
I think he'll be listening. He knew that I was going to be talking. I think he might be listening. He'll be storming around the joint.
Oh, Barney, I love you, and I'm just taking the piss, mate. He makes beautiful wines. Yeah.
No, it does a very good job. I always say about Barney, he's like the ugly little sister I never needed.
Okay.
He sticks around.
For some reason, I'm seeing Barney in a dress for something. I really got to get that image out of my mind.
Yeah, no. That'll put you off for everyone's
mind. It's red satin.
But he was saying and this has been a bit of a common story. There's been damage to shoots and vines, but the biggest headache has been trees falling into vineyards.
Yeah.
Just especially the smaller ones that we'd be looking at around, the regions around Melbourne. A lot of times they're surrounded by trees. So if you've got a massive pine or a massive, eucalyptus or some such thing that falls down into your vineyard, that's going to do a fair amount of damage to your vines, but to the infrastructure too. So that's where the headaches come into it. And Barney had just finished retrellising a particular section of his vineyard.
No.
Yeah, a tree fell into it. That's so it's just the damage to the assets is a big thing. But I would encourage anyone just before we get too far away from what was going on in the Barossa. And the hailstorms that came through there, it's just decimated. A lot of the Barossa, they just won't have a vintage. There'll be nothing left there. And some of the Adelaide Hills too.
No vintage.
No, well, things just get so badly damaged that you just, from here on through, it's a game. If that's severely damaged, it's a game of just nursing your vineyard through. You'll have all these. The hail hits your shoots. It gives you like a scar, like a wound, and that's really, really prone to getting disease.
Yeah.
So what you've got to be doing from here on through is just maintaining the healthier canopies in order that they can just grow for the full season and pick up the pieces next year. Because if you're getting disease headaches this early on, once you get to autumn and all your leaves drop and you're starting to get carbohydrates put back into storage to get so the vines will start to grow the following season. If that's interrupted, it can impact the following season. So that I feel for anybody in any agricultural sense with these sort of weather events that we're having, but we only get, as grape growers, we only get one crop a year.
Yeah.
So, if someone's knocked about this early on, there's the bit of a slump of shoulders that goes on. It's like, right, how do we make the best out of this?
And also the slump of shoulders, especially around Adelaide. I mean, let's face it, we had, 2019, smoke taint, and then the crazy thing is some fires going through and the heat being so intense that the vines were destroyed, which was... that was another wake-up call for me. It was like, wow, I haven't heard of that. I mean, we've heard of smoke taint coming through, and I've heard of vineyards being singed, but never actually killing off the vines, because a grapevine is a tough old thing, isn't it?
Oh, man, I've been trying to kill them for 30 years, and they refuse to die. They're one of the toughest plants you can get.
Yeah.
And when you see that happen to them, I was at Gippsland last week before, and caught up with some people at just near Lakes Entrance. They had a grass fire whip through there in 2019. Just a great, you think a grass fire sort of whip through, but they're like 30-year-old Pinot vines out there, and a lot of them aren't bouncing back. And it's like, man, it's just that's what it takes to sort of knock those around. And like as you said, Cam, they're a tough old plant. The older they are, the tougher they are, because they've got these. These root systems. You look at that. How much is above the ground of a grapevine? It's really not that much, but it's because we prune them back every year. So you've got this. In some cases, you have these monstrous root systems underneath that help them get through.
Oh yeah.
But,
how deep do these root systems go?
How deep is your love, Cam? Sorry.
Sorry, wrong key.
It depends on the soil. Like,
we're talking 6 inches. We're talking 30 metres.
Keep going. They can go from metres as long as the soil is good enough to let that root penetration go through. They can go miles down. They can go metres and metres down into the soil, and that's the thing we've said so often. Said, Cam, you can't plant an old grapevine. You've got to stick it in the ground and just let it happen.
And that's why, say in France, where they're just grown on the crappiest soils, like on chalk and stone and that they can make it, and
they eke out and exist. It's incredible. They're some of the most resilient plants you're ever going to find.
Yeah.
So that's the thing. If you've got those older vines with those root systems that go a fair way down, they're a lot more resilient to just about everything. But a really, really good dose of fire is it's going to knock around a lot of things, no matter how old they are, I reckon.
Yeah, Duncan, 12:55 here on 3RRR FM. We're coming towards the end of the show, and eat it. One thing, next week I'm going to be having a chat with climatologist Dr. Lynette Betio from the Bureau of Meteorology, and one of the things that seems to be coming to the fore is that there is a likelihood, a very great likelihood, that the La Nina is going to continue for this summer. And I just wonder what your thoughts were with that. So we're looking increased rainfall, flooding events possibly, but I guess maybe an amelioration from really, really full-on heat and dry.
Yeah, and that's a bit of a double-edged sword, I suppose. It's wet at the moment, so people are having to get out and keep their crops protected by spraying them. But it's difficult to get your tractor into the vineyard because it is so wet. You just end up with these big wheel ruts everywhere. So this end of the season, when it's really wet, it makes it harder. But you're 100% right. We had this last year. Once you get into picking season. Grapes like to ripen a lot of grape varieties like to ripen in sort of cooler weather. So if we can get this, if we've got that kind of end of the season, hopefully we can make something of it. But we've just, there's still a lot going on. They're predicting frost. Great Western got touched up with frost a couple of weeks ago. I know Macedon, they're on high alert at the moment for frost because that can just destroy a crop too. So there's a lot to get through before we get that far. But it was looking really good. Just a few difficulties of late that have sort of come up. But, as John said on his report, he said, just how resilient agricultural people are. It's just, okay, mate. My hot house got blasted to smithereens by some hail. Don't know. I'll pick them up for tomatoes. That's what I do.
I'll get up again and we'll start again. And you had a bit of a nice story to finish up on, you were telling me.
Yeah. I was up in Beechworth earlier in the week, and there's a bloke up there who's bought this property that had one of the original Beechworth vineyards on it. This is
from the 19th century type vineyard?
Yeah, 1860. The original vineyard's not there, but this guy bought the property, and then he said, I might like to put this vineyard back in. He found some old photos from back in the 1860s and 70s of this vineyard, and that was on his property, and the old stone wall that was around it was still there, but obviously fallen down a bit. So he's reconstructed the wall and replanted this vineyard in the same way that it would have been planted back in the 1860s. So it's a very Rhone style of planting vines. They're very close together. They don't have like that fence trellis type thing that people might be a bit more familiar with. They've just got a stake in the ground that they grow up.
Oh, so they're just clumps.
They call them bush vines. So there's one stake, and they tie the foliage up to these stakes as they go along. But get this, in the photos that this guy found of his property, he's still got I think there was a couple of plums and a couple of mulberry trees that are still there that were on the property when these photos were taken over 100 years ago.
No way. What?
Yeah, so he's got these really old trees, and he's sort of re-established this vineyard
and reinvigorating and doing it. Hey, Dunky, we're going to have to cut it off there, buddy.
Good to chat to you guys.
Big hugs to you, Dougs, Duncan Buchanan, thank you very, very much, and look forward to catching up with you soon. Thanks, mate.
Likewise. Thank you. Ciao, bye.
There he is, our wine scribe with his own theme, which is great.
And catching trees as they fall onto his vineyard. Next week, Cam.
Matt Preston. And
former Triple R graveyarder, Matt Preston.
Yes.
Did you know that?
He did well.
Yeah.
He's done well. Of course, Dr. Lynette Betio, as I mentioned before, still here, is on after this. Matt, it's been a joy to see you.
Likewise.
And we'll catch you soon.
Let's do it.
Bye-bye. Hi, this is Cam Smith, and you've been listening to the podcast of Triple R's Eat It, a weekly radio show about food and drink, broadcast live on Triple R from Melbourne, Australia, every Sunday. Hope you enjoyed the podcast, and feel free to get in touch with us via the Triple R website.